For 5,000 years, humans built the strongest walls they could imagine. And for 5,000 years, someone else found a way to bring them down. Every wall in history was eventually breached. Every fortress ever declared impregnable was eventually taken. And each time it happened, a new chapter in weapons technology was written. Today we're going through every major siege weapon ever built. And by the end of this, you'll understand why walls and the weapons that defeat them have driven more technological innovation than almost anything else in history. Let's start with the simplest problem. You want to get inside a city. The city has walls. The first solution humans came up with was also the most direct. A ladder. Not glamorous, not clever, but for thousands of years effective. Scale the wall, get inside, fight whoever is waiting at the top. The problem was obvious. You're completely exposed climbing a ladder under a wall. Defenders could push ladders off, drop rocks, pour boiling oil. Soldiers died climbing in massive numbers. Something better was needed. The battering ram, one of the oldest weapons in history. A heavy wooden beam, sometimes capped with iron shaped like a ram's head, swung repeatedly against gates or walls to crack them open. Simple, brutal, often effective, but completely exposed to defenders throwing things from above. So engineers added a roof. The covered gallery, a wooden structure on wheels, protected the ram operators while they worked. The attackers were inside a moving shelter. The ram was protected. This structure, a mobile wooden building designed to approach a wall under fire, was the ancestor of every armored vehicle ever built. The logic is identical to a modern tank. Protect the weapon, let it do its work. As civilizations grew more sophisticated, so did their siege equipment. The catapult arrived around 400 BC. Tension-based or torsion-based, using twisted rope or bent wood to generate throwing force. A decent catapult could hurl a 30-pound stone hundreds of meters. Against undefended buildings inside a city, this was devastating. But against thick defensive walls, less effective. Stone hits stone. The wall absorbs the impact. What the catapult was better at was human psychology. A city under constant stone bombardment, with buildings collapsing inside the walls, starts to question whether resistance is worth it. The catapult was as much a psychological weapon as a physical one. That duality, physical destruction and psychological pressure, defines most siege weapons. Around the same era, another solution emerged for a very different problem: walls too tall to climb and too strong to batter. The siege tower. A rolling wooden structure taller than the target wall, built on site, pushed forward on wheels or rollers. When it reached the wall, a drawbridge at the top dropped down. Soldiers crossed directly from the tower onto the battlements. No ladder climbing, no grappling hooks, a direct bridge from ground level to the top of the wall. The engineering required to build a stable rolling structure 40 feet high, while under constant fire from archers and hot oil, was genuinely extraordinary for its time. Alexander the Great used siege towers extensively at the Siege of Tyre in 332 BC. Tyre was built on an island, so Alexander first built a causeway from the mainland, then rolled siege towers down his newly built road and over the water. An island fortress that had never been taken fell to a man who literally built new land to reach it. When the obstacle is a geographical barrier, build through it. That mindset, not just overcoming obstacles but removing them entirely, is what separates average commanders from great ones. Then came the Trebuchet, and the game changed completely. We've mentioned the Trebuchet before, but the siege context deserves its own focus. The counterweight Trebuchet, developed around the 12th century, was a different class of machine. Not tension-based, gravity-powered. A massive counterweight on one arm drove the other arm upward with enormous force. It could throw a 300-pound stone with remarkable accuracy. Accuracy matters because city walls have weak points, joints between stone blocks, base edges, gate structures. A skilled Trebuchet crew could hit the same spot repeatedly, grinding down the wall section by section. The Trebuchet also introduced projectile variety. Not just stones. Rotting animal carcasses, diseased bodies, beehives. Anything that could create fear, sickness, or chaos inside the walls. Biological warfare delivered by catapult arm. The most sophisticated siege weapon of the medieval world, and one of the most creatively horrible. But there was another medieval siege technique that required no machine at all. Undermining. Tunnel under the foundation of a wall. Prop the tunnel up with wooden supports. Pack the supports with flammable material. Light the fire, Retreat. When the wood burns away, the tunnel collapses, and the wall above it comes down with it. This is how Richard the Lionheart's forces took Chelluschabrol in 1199. This is how Edward III breached the walls of Berwick in 1333. Undermining required patience, skill, and good geology knowledge. But when it worked catastrophically. And it terrified defenders because there was almost no defense against a tunnel you couldn't see being dug. Then gunpowder changed siege warfare permanently. We know this story from the warships video, but on land the shift was even more dramatic. Sultan Mehmed II in 1453 commissioned the largest cannons ever built. One cannon, the Basilica, was so large it required 60 oxen to transport and 400 men to operate. It fired a 1,200-pound stone ball. The Theodosian walls of Constantinople had withstood 23 sieges over 1,000 years. Against the Basilica, they held for 53 days. The Byzantine defenders had a creative response to the bombardment. They hung bales of wool and leather over the cracks the cannonballs created. The soft material absorbed and dispersed the impact rather than shattering from it. A stone wall breaks when hit hard, a bale of wool doesn't. It was essentially the medieval equivalent of modern blast-absorbing armor. Primitive but effective, it slowed the damage, not enough to save the city in the end. Mehmed also used a creative piece of logistics to outmaneuver the Byzantine navy. He transported 70 ships overland, on greased wooden rails, to bypass the defensive chain blocking the harbor. Over a mountain, at night, the Byzantines woke up to find enemy ships already inside their protected waters. Constantinople fell May 29, 1453. Mehmed's cannons didn't just end a siege, they ended an empire. And they permanently closed the era when walls could stop armies. The next great test of cannon versus fortress came a century later, and it produced a genius countermeasure. The Siege of Vienna in 1529, and again in 1683, pitted Ottoman siege expertise against the most advanced star fortress designs in Europe. Star forts built with angled bastions instead of flat walls were specifically engineered to eliminate the blind spots that older round towers always had. Every angle of approach could be covered by defensive fire from at least 2 directions at once. Ottoman engineers responded with extensive tunnel mining, trying to go under the new geometry instead of through it. Vienna held both times, and the failed 1683 siege is often cited as the high watermark of Ottoman expansion into Europe. The star fort design that stopped them went on to become the standard for European military architecture for the next 2 centuries. A wall's shape, redrawn on paper, ended up reshaping the borders of an empire. Modern precision weapons completed what the cannon began. A cruise missile can strike a specific window of a specific building from 1,0 miles away. Bunker buster bombs, designed to penetrate concrete before detonating, can destroy hardened underground facilities. There is no wall thick enough, no bunker deep enough, to guarantee safety from modern siege weapons. But the most radical siege weapon ever built wasn't any of those. It was the nuclear bomb. Because for the first time, a siege weapon could destroy a city without ever approaching it. No ladders, no rams, no trebuchet. One aircraft, one weapon, one morning. The concept of the siege was rendered academic in August 1945. From a wooden ladder to a weapon that requires no physical proximity at all. Every siege weapon in this video existed to answer one question: how do we get through? And every wall ever built was the previous answer to the same question going the other way. The moment walls stopped being the answer, the siege weapon became the most powerful object on Earth. Drop a comment below, which siege weapon do you think was the most innovative for its time? The trebuchet, the undermining tunnel, or something I didn't cover? I read every response. Subscribe and I'll see you next week.